Okay, so good morning, everybody. Well, today I'm going to continue with chapter 6, which I was doing yesterday, and I'm going to complete part 2 of that chapter, which is titled as Consumer Markets. So, in this particular chapter, I'm going to focus on topics like selective retention, subliminal perception in brief, because it is a capsule lecture series, and we're going to end the lecture with buying decision process. So selective retention, well, as a consumer, many a times we don't remember most of the information that we are exposed to. So if we are watching a TV ad or we are reading newspaper or even we are looking at any product, particular company name, we don't tend to remember that for a long time. Even 2, 3 days, we tend to forget that. But we do retain information that supports our attitudes and that our belief. Subliminal perception is selective perception mechanism that requires consumers very active engagement and thought. And I think as a consumer, you tend to be more engaged in those areas where you are more interested. For example, somebody who is interested in sports would want to watch more ads that are showing sports product. Certainly, if somebody is more interested in driving, well, he's going to pay more attention on all the ads that are there for cars or scooters or motorbikes. Learning induces changes in our behavior that arises from experience, and we learn from experience, we learn from observation as well. Most human behavior is learned, although much learning is incidental. The hedonic biases occur when people have a general tendency to attribute success to themselves and failure to external causes. And to this, consumer response may be emotional and invoke different kind of feelings. A brand or a product may make a consumer feel proud, excited, or confident. They may have short memory or a long term memory. That again depends. People don't want to keep all things in their brain. So in a short memory, they will remember it for a short time, but something is there with respect to their interest, their attitude, their personality, maybe something which matches with what they want to keep. They normally keep it for the long term scenario. Memory retrieval, I think, is the way information gets out of your brain, and three facts are important for memory retrieval. The presence of other product information, the time between exposure to information and encoding, and information may be available in memory but not be accessible for recall without proper recall measures. Then we also discussed about the buying decision process, which has several stages, starting from problem recognition, information search, evaluation of alternatives, and purchase decision. And finally, we have post purchase behavior. So, I think as a consumer, all people go through these five stages that they use whenever they have to buy anything. So smart companies try to fully understand customers' buying decision process, all the experience in learning, choosing, using, and even disposing of the product. Consumers don't always pass through all the five stages as a hard and fast rule. Well, we may skip or reverse some of them. When we buy a regular brand of any product, like maybe a Maggie, maybe a coffee, we may directly go from need to the purchase decision and skip the other information, which is with respect to searching and evaluation. But yes, certainly when I'm going for a new product for the first time, I will take my own time to search the alternatives and I will tend to evaluate them with time and then I will take the decision to buy them. So in the problem recognition, we basically try to find the need that I have and which I'm trying to fulfill. So the need can also be aroused by external stimulus. A person may admire a friend's new car or see a television ad for any other place. Marketers need to identify these problems and then accordingly launch the product. Information search, I think we have a lot of avenues nowadays. We have internet, we have a lot of ads, websites, salespeople. We have public mass media, consumer rating organizations are also there that actually keep consumers more aware about what is going on with respect to product. Then we also hear from our family, from our friends, and they do tell us more about the pros and cons of ABC product. So I think each source will perform a different function in influencing the buying decision. Commercial sources normally perform an information function, whereas personal sources perform a legitimized evaluation function. I think evaluation dynamics result in the ultimate decision by a consumer whether he is going to buy a product or he is going to delay a purchase decision. So marketers need to identify the hierarchy of the attributes that guide consumer decision making in order to understand different competitive forces and how these various sets get formed. This process of identifying the hierarchy is called as marketing positioning. The company must also identify the other brands in the consumer's choice set so that it can plan out accordingly and let people evaluate in the next stage. So after recognition of a problem, I think they go for the search behavior. They find out more information about the desired product, and ultimately, then they evaluate the alternatives depending on certain parameters. Like for example, if I'm looking for a hotel, so in the case of hotel, I'm going to go for different options, hotel A, B, C, and then I'm going to see the hotels with respect to cost, number of rooms, availability, the location, nearness to the airport, and many other facilities like transportation and extra facilities which I might be looking for. So some basic concepts will actually help us in understanding the consumer evaluation process. Likewise, if I have to buy a computer, so I'm going to see the price factor, the size, how hard it is to carry, or how convenient it is to carry, how much it is durable, whether it is having a screen which is not going to affect my eyes in the long run. So consumers will actually pay attention to the different parameters which will actually vary from product to product. So they have their beliefs and attitudes. Belief is nothing but a descriptive thought that a person holds about something, just as important as attitudes. A person's enduring favorable or unfavorable evaluation, emotional feelings, and action tendencies towards some idea or object. Attitude, I think, is very important when it comes to what people ultimately buy, because they normally buy something that matches with their attitude and with matches with their personality. We also have this expectancy value model that is nothing but the model of attitude formation that posits that consumers evaluate products and services by combining their brand beliefs, both negatives and the positives. Then we also redesign the laptop computer. Well, this technique is basically used, in case of certain examples with respect to computers. So, as a consumer, if I'm a very innovative consumer, I might be looking for a redesigned product, or I might be looking for a very additional feature in a particular brand name. Purchase decision, finally, when I'm done with my evaluation, I come to the decision of buying, which again will be having certain so-called steps which I need to clear. These could be non-compensatory models of consumer choice, and the expectancy value of model is a compensatory model. In that, perceived good things about a product can actually help to overcome the perceived bad things. But normally, consumers often take small mental shortcuts. They are called as heuristics or rule of thumb in the decision process. In the non-compensatory models of consumer choice, positive and negative attribute considerations don't necessarily net out. So we have three choices that we can make as a consumer. A conjunctive heuristic, where the consumer will set a minimum acceptable cutoff level for each attribute and chooses the first alternative that meets the minimum standard. With the lexicographic heuristic, the consumer chooses the best brand on the basis of its perceived most important attribute. With this decision rule, if there are a lot of people who focus only on the price, so in this case, they're going to ignore the other parameters, but they're only going to buy a laptop since it is very cost effective. Third is elimination by aspect heuristic. The consumer compares brands on an attribute selected or probabilistically, where probability of choosing an attribute is positively related to its importance. Then we have intervening factors as well. We have general factors like attitude of other people, like if I buy something, what other people will think about me. And it actually depends that more or less I may not always buy things for myself, but I always tend to buy things which will actually result in social conformity. It may be also intensity of the other people's negative attitude that might stop me from buying a lot of things which I want to buy. Our motivation to comply with the other person's wishes is another factor which will actually decide what I ultimately end up buying in the market. So I think these are the factors which decide consumer buying, and consumers are no doubt, undoubtedly, they are influenced by these external evaluations, and they do decide whether positive or negative with respect to these factors. The second factor after the social conformity is the unanticipated situational factor that may erupt to change the purchase intention. So it may happen that for example, I'm planning to buy a house, and suddenly the house prices have increased. So I will actually delay my decision and buy up some time when the house prices are within my reach. So we have perceived risk, which we have as functional risk, physical risk, financial risk, social risk, psychological risk, and time risk. The failure of the product results in an opportunity cost of finding another satisfactory product. The degree of the perceived risk varies with the amount of money at stake, the amount of attribute uncertainty, and the level of consumer self confidence. I suppose after all this, once we have purchased the product, we talk about the post-purchase behavior, where consumers might experience or dissonance from noticing certain features which are not that good, but will be able to have more alert information regarding those their decisions. So even if they hear something wrong or something negative, since they've already purchased the product, they will tend to ignore that. So marketing communications should supply beliefs and evaluations and reinforce the consumer's choice and help him feel good about whatever they have purchased. The marketer's job, therefore, doesn't end with the purchase itself. Rather, they must monitor the post-purchase behavior of individual consumer. So that was all that we did in the class, and there are certain moderating effects as well. We have on the consumer decision making. We have low involvement consumer decision making, where it may be high or low as well. The expectancy value model assumes a high level of consumer involvement or engagement that active processing of consumer undertakes in responding to a marketing stimulus. So, marketing companies use four techniques to try to convert a low involvement product into a higher involvement product. So, first, they can link the product to an engaging issue. Second, they can link the product to a personal situation. Third, they must design the advertising to trigger strong emotions among the consumer. Then we have variety seeking buying behavior as well, where as a consumer, I'm looking for more variety before I ultimately buy a particular product. So, market leader and the minor brands in this product category have different marketing strategies. The market leader will try to encourage habitual buying behavior by dominating the shelf space with a variety of the related products. Then, behavior decision theory and behavioral economics are the two topics which are often interrelated. And we say that the most active academic research areas in marketing over the last 3 decades have been behavioral decision making and behavioral decision making theory. So, we have availability heuristics where consumers base their predictions on the quickness and the ease with which a particular example of an outcome comes in mind. So, that was all that we did in the class. And another topic, the last topic that we did was representativeness heuristic, where consumers base their prediction on how representative or similar outcome is to the other examples. So framing is nothing but is a manner in which choices are presented to and seen by a decision maker. And mental accounting is another process where way consumers code, categorize, and evaluate financial outcomes of the choices. So that was all that consumers use before they ultimately become the owner